I've always been fascinated by dandelions, especially as a child. I used to feel that she represented a triple goddess. Her flowers represented the sun, her seed ball represented the moon, and of course when those seeds blew she represented the stars. So I was always fascinated by her beauty. In a previous video I was talking about how her flowers can be made into lovely jams and jellies and syrups for the throat and honeys. But today I have a different use for them. I'm going to make a lovely dandelion wine, and the first thing you're going to need to do is collect a lot of dandelions. So I'm going to go through this field. I'm going to pick out as many dandelions as I can, and you can watch me start to finish showing you how to make a lovely dandelion wine. So the next step is to find yourself a nice grassy spot, because you're going to be sitting for a while, and you're going to start separating your yellow petals away from your dandelion heads. You don't want any green stem in your wine because that will only make the wine bitter, and nobody likes a bitter wine. So another couple of points to mention is that you only want to pick the dandelions from an area where there's an abundance of dandelions, because they really are the bees' first food source, and we don't want to take away from their needs. The second thing to remember is that we only take 10% of what we really need, because we have other food sources we can rely on. And also, you don't want to take dandelions from an area that's been sprayed. It's very important to remember that. So I'm going to be sat here for a while with my yellow fingers. And when I'm done here, I'm going to go back to the kitchen and show you my next step in the process of making wine. Right, so back in the kitchen, and this is the second stage to making your wine. So I've all my dandelion petals already separated from the stems. And you probably can hear the water boiling in the background because I need 10 litres of boiling water. And the reason why I need 10 litres of boiling water is I also need to add in 5 or 6 bags of sugar to this recipe. So I'm going to add in 5 bags of sugar, and I want to make sure that sugar is dissolved. And I'm going to add in my dried active yeast, and obviously the sugar feeds the yeast, and that's how fermentation begins, and through that process of fermentation we get alcohol. So I'm going to start adding in my water. In goes my sugar. Now you might want to stir this a few times to make sure that sugar is dissolved, and it is important to make sure the sugar is dissolved properly. And then the last thing is my dried active yeast, which goes in. I'll stir that in, and then I leave this sitting for the next 3 hours. And in 3 hours time, I'm going to top this bucket up to 25 litres. This is a 25 litre bucket. I'm going to top this up with up to 25 litres. So 15 litres of cold water on top of the 10 litres that's gone into it. And I'm going to add in my bentonite clay, my yeast nutrient, should I say, and then my citric acid, and then I'm going to leave it then for about 3 weeks. So I'll be back to you in about 3 hours time. So it's roughly been about 3 hours since I last added in my boiling water, my 5 bags of sugar and my dried active yeast into this barrel. And since then now, in the last few minutes, I've just topped this up with some cold water, up to about 23 litres of cold water. So I need now quickly to add in my yeast nutrient. Stirring this in as we kind of go. My bentonite clay as well. And then my citric acid as well. And all of these ingredients you can get from the home brew store in Mount Merrick. So, stirring that in, I'm going to move the camera over so you can get a better look. I hope that's a better look there. So that's it. The last part now is to put on my lid with my airlock, which I have filled with some water, and as this begins to ferment, my airlock will start to bubble away. I need to keep this in a nice warm place for the next 3 weeks, and in 3 weeks time I will be back. I will strain the whole lot off and I will show you the final last small step in winemaking, but that's the bulk of it done for now. So I'll see you back in a few weeks time.